All right, let's dive right into this explainer. Today we're doing something a little bit meta and honestly incredibly fascinating. We are unpacking an absolute masterclass in content creation. Our source material today is actually a highly detailed AI-generated prompt designed specifically to build one of those viral documentary-style explainers about accidental discoveries. And what's really cool is it actually kicks off with a brilliant little note in Roman Urdu, Bilkul, ye topic mystery plus science plus real-life discovery niche ke liye both strong hai. Basically, that just translates to, absolutely. This topic is very strong for the mystery, science, and real-life discovery niche. So from that totally unique inception point, it transitions into this meticulously structured English blueprint. And today, we're going to break down exactly how it engineers your curiosity.
To really understand this blueprint, we have to look at the exact tone it demands from the get-go. The source strictly instructs the narrator to adopt this deep, intelligent, kind of mysterious persona. So, if I were reading the opening lines of the scripted documentary, I'd lower my voice, I'd pause for suspense, and I'd say, what if the biggest discovery of your life happened when you weren't looking for it? Boom! It immediately pulls you into this cinematic experience, making you realize that totally ordinary people have stumbled upon utterly extraordinary things, completely by accident.
So here is our roadmap for today. We're going to deconstruct this viral formula section by section, starting with the cinematic hook, then the 10-story archetypes, the mini-movie, the Netflix aesthetic, sound and pacing, and finally, retention bridging.
All right, section 1, the perfect cinematic hook. We're talking about the first 0 to 30 seconds. In the world of visual storytelling, this inception point is quite literally where your attention is either won or lost. To pull this off, the prompt outlines a visual, rapid-fire montage. It commands us to jump rapidly from, say, a person digging up an ancient artifact, straight to a scientist staring in absolute shock at some glowing substance, all the way to everyday abandoned objects suddenly gaining immense value. Throw in some dramatic music, and it immediately promises this wild roller coaster of history and everyday miracles.
Moving right along to section 2, 10 accidental story archetypes, structuring the unknown.
Let's look at exactly how the prompt dictates we categorize these historical accidents. The real secret sauce here is how it groups human discovery into these distinct narrative buckets, just to make sure you're taken on a varied emotional journey. We've got the laboratory theme for those massive science and medical breakthroughs, the everyday archetype for, farmers hitting rocks in their fields or finding hidden rooms, and the beyond for things like deep space signals. It's basically a perfectly balanced diet of awe. But here's the thing. To make these visual spectacles truly resonate, the blueprint ensures they are grounded in real human lessons. For instance, a laboratory mistake segment literally has to end with the realization that modern technology often stems from a stubborn scientist who just refused to ignore a failed prototype. It frames failure not as a dead end, but as a doorway.
Okay, section 3, story 10, the mini-movie, the ultimate escalation.
Let's see how this structure builds up to an absolutely incredible climax for the 10th and final story. Notice this exact 6-step narrative arc. You don't just state the facts, you take the viewer on a complete journey. You start with a totally normal situation, introduce an unexpected event, move right through the confusion and the investigation, hit that grand discovery, and finally reveal the global impact. It all builds to this massive realization that one tiny mistake changed the world forever.
Up next, section 4, the Netflix-style aesthetic, visualizing the mystery.
So, now we transition from the storytelling mechanics into the actual cinematic execution, and the demand for a premium aesthetic here is completely uncompromising. The prompt specifically calls for a high-end, Netflix-style look. We're talking ultra-realistic 4K, volumetric lighting, subtle film grain, and high contrast. Crucially, though, and this is the strict rule, absolutely no cartoonish visuals. The mystery absolutely has to feel grounded and real.
Actually, this brings us to a really fascinating guardrail built into the prompt, the strict accuracy rule. It actively contrasts the requirement for real, evidence-backed historical events against the need for cinematic visuals. The prompt explicitly states, do not invent discoveries. If a scene is recreated for visualization, the creator has to make it super clear, either through the narration or subtle on-screen labeling, that it's a dramatic reconstruction. It even warns against making wild, exaggerated claims like, this discovery saved the entire world, unless, of course, there is reliable evidence to actually back that up.
All right, section 5, sound, pacing, and editing, the rhythm of retention.
We've talked about the story and the visuals, but let's dive into the edit bay to see how rhythm keeps the audience literally glued to the screen.
To pull this off, the technical pacing is incredibly precise. Visuals have to change every 2 to 5 seconds using match cuts and slow zooms to keep things dynamic but avoid complete chaos. And auditorily, it relies on subtle heartbeats, ticking sounds, and these mysterious atmospheric drones that just hum beneath the narration, all culminating in deep impact sounds during major text reveals.
And finally, Section 6, Curiosity Bridges and Retention, the Psychology of the Click. We've reached the psychological tricks used to string these distinct archetypes together without losing you halfway through. The real magic happens at the very end of every single segment. The source refers to these as curiosity bridges. Instead of just naturally ending a story, the script demands an open loop. It's designed to ensure you're instantly hooked on the next mystery before your brain even registers that the previous segment ended.
By looking at the prompt's suggested open loops, we see exactly how it builds suspense. Phrases like, "But this wasn't the strangest accidental discovery," or, "And what happened next? Shocked the researchers," or even, "The real mystery was discovered later." These are highly engineered transitions that ensure the real mystery is always perceived to be just around the corner.
Ultimately, as we reach the end, the prompt strips away all that fast pacing for a final, really grounding message. It reminds us that incredible discoveries don't always require a genius with a perfect plan. Sometimes they just begin with curiosity, a random failure, and the simple willingness to look a little closer at what everyone else ignored.
Using the prompt's exact final engagement loop, I want to leave you with this provocative question to spark your own investigation. This entire prompt is an absolute masterclass in structuring information to maximize human wonder. So, which accidental discovery framework surprised you the most? Keep asking questions, keep looking closer, and we'll see you in the next explainer.